Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about the natal or astrology chart of Ronda Rousey, Part 2. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the chart ruler in the 10th house, and shows that her Gemini rising personality can come out prominently in matters pertaining to her career, a public image, and reputation. In her career, she could show a lot of versatility and be very multifaceted in this particular area of her life. Now, the chart pattern, I did not see a chart pattern in this chart. However, she had all her planets, they were confined to about 157 degrees. So this shows me that similarly to like a bowl, or I guess like a bundle chart, she can have strong concentration of power and a lot of single-minded focus, and maybe more so than the typical Pisces Moon Gemini Sun combination, and really doesn't based on this, it doesn't generally allow extraneous influences to affect her or alter what she's trying to do, and as far as the diversions or distractions go. Now, Mars in 11th and Pluto in 6th are on the rims, I guess you could say, of this configuration. And Mars in 11th can show a lot of that aggressiveness in matters pertaining to her goals and aspirations and being in its dignity. And Aries is obviously very strong. Pluto in the 6th can show a lot of intensity in matters pertaining to her work life. So those are the things that keep, I guess you could say, are very prominent in terms of this focus of this energy, this concentration of energy. So anyway, she also, what was interesting is that she has Mars in Aries conjunct the North Node in the 11th house. Now this could show that her mission or that sole purpose and the objectives may be connected with something that involves something combative, courageous, and competitive, which is what she does with the mixed martial arts. Now, Mars is dignified in Aries, and it's a great placement. The aggressive energy is channeled into these aspirations. Mars is also intercepted, so it may have been a little harder for her to get it, to utilize this energy in the most positive way and really channel this in the right manner. But the fact is, she is able to do it, and obviously she excels at it. Now, she has a stellium in Sagittarius in the 7th house. Now, this could show that strong emphasis on sports in her relationships. Now, responsibility, which is Saturn, originality, freedom, which is Uranus, and in money, Venus, can indicate that these are strongly integrated and amalgamated and can be a lot of exuberance and expansiveness in connection with this. And this could come out strongly in the matters with her in 7th house matters. So, anyway, she has no retrograde planets. Now, this indicates that she may have attained a lot of her goals in a relatively early period without a lot of resistance or obstacles and obstructions. Now, obviously, I believe she's going to have some negative or adverse aspects in that chart, so that will modify that, of course. But it's always, I would say, it's good to have no retrograde planets, because you're going to have, on average, I think in most cases, that you won't have as much resistance in trying to attain certain things in life, as opposed to having, like, for example, say 3 or more retrograde planets, or even one retrograde planet or more. No retrograde planets is actually very beneficial and advantageous. Now, she has Chiron in Gemini conjunct the ascendant. I thought this was interesting. And on Wikipedia, it said from age 0 to 6, she had difficulties in terms of composing or articulating a sentence, the result of something called apraxia, which is a speech impairment, and it was rectified later on, I guess right at age 6, presumably, and through extensive speech therapy treatments and through the experts, she was able to get it get it taken care of. Now, it's interesting that she also has suffered and endured injuries to her hand, and Gemini is connected with the hand. So I thought that was very interesting. And the fact that it's in her first house may have indicated that she might have had felt some kind of inhibitions or limitations in early childhood. Well, in this example, it was with the speech, and Gemini is about communication. So that tells you something right there. And also the fact that it conjuncts the ascendant, that could intensify the possible injuries to the physical body in general. So anyway, now here she has two intercepted houses, and one in obviously when you have obviously if you have an interception in one house, you'll have another. So I should say she has one pair of interceptions in her chart, and one is Libra in the 5th house, and the other is Aries in the 11th house. Now, the fact with Libra in the 5th, that maybe at times she might have difficulty in showing maybe that the charming diplomatic energy of Libra in matters connected perhaps with romance. And maybe if she I don't know if she has children at this present time, but whether she does now or has them later, then it might be difficult to maybe in showing that side with matters connected with children. So that is one thing. And also she also it has and also just in love and romance in general, but she also has Aries intercepted in the 11th, of course, because you have, if Libra is intercepted in the 5th, then Aries will be intercepted in the 11th. And even though she's in a combative sport, there may have been difficulties in showing perhaps the assertive, aggressive energy of Aries in far as goals and aspirations go to some degree. But what modifies this, of course, is the fact that she has the Mars in Aries in its dignity. And I think that really has helped her matters in terms of channeling this properly. So I think that you have to look at that and take that into consideration. But what this could, and also matters connected with being outspoken with friends, and there might have been some difficulty or suppression of that energy to some degree as well, due to having Aries intercepted in the 11th house. And as far as what I was basically, that's going to be pretty much it for, well, actually, no, my bad. I have one more thing I'd like to say about Miss Rousey. I don't know if I'm even saying that right now. Anyway, she has a yod configuration in her chart. Yes, I'm counting the North Node as a point in the yod. Some people may not use the nodes in it, but I do. It might be a little bit of a weaker yod as opposed to using planets in it, but I'm going to go with it. And in the yod configuration, it involves Gemini rising, the North Node, and Pluto as the apex point, or that focal point, I guess you could say, that finger of the yod. Now, the North Node sextile, the ascendant, can indicate or maybe her ability to realize what things that are contemporary in the trends and maximize the use of this knowledge and capitalizing on it. And at the time, I guess when she joined mixed martial arts, it had its strong popularity, and she obviously capitalized on. I think that's something right there with that aspect, how it pertains to her. Now, the apex point being Pluto in the 6th, which indicates intense. Fixated, and it could be very intense and fixated regarding work-related matters. So, and also being in Scorpio, perhaps the idea is really being indomitable at her work. Now, the fact is, on the positive side, she can incorporate, of course, the sextile aspect, what I was talking about before, into that strong intensity in the work, and being Pluto in the 6th, that's the point that's directing her. That's that action point, or that the apex or focal point of this yod configuration. That is where she can possibly achieve the monumental achievement and reach and attain great heights, and which of course is what she's doing in her work life. And I feel she's done this by incorporating, of course, that sextile aspect into that Pluto in the sixth house. But on the negative side, obviously with the yod, you have to work through the exasperation and tension connected with the two inconjuncts from the sextile points to that apex point. So in this particular example, the Gemini ascendant making the inconjunct to Pluto on the negative side could show some kind of perhaps borderline obsessive tendencies. I don't want to say necessarily compulsive, but maybe not a chronic condition or not an actual classification, but something close to it in terms of having that strong need, and it's coming from the sixth house, so you got to factor that in, and also the but strongly, but could be very strongly obsessive, perhaps regarding health and physical body. The fact that it makes the inconjunct from the sixth house, Pluto, to the ascendant, and also she has the North Node making the inconjunct to Pluto, and that could indicate that there might have been maybe some crisis or upheavals that were maybe work related, that were conflicting with what she was doing in terms of the North Node energy, and that could be maybe that where you have that conflict as well. But in a yod, if you can work through the exasperation and tension created by the inconjunct aspects, in this case the Gemini ascendant to the Pluto and Scorpio, and the North Node in Aries to the Pluto and Scorpio, a person can be capable of prodigious achievement. And I think it's safe to say that she has she has accomplished a lot. She may have lost the last fight, but she is a champion in my mind. And I saw something when I Googled her name earlier, that there was some talk that may not fight or something again. Well, I hope she does fight. I'd like to see her seek retribution and avenge that loss to the fighter she had lost her title to, because I think she could regain the title. But that's just my own personal opinion on it. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the Ronda Rousey Natal Chart Part 2. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be continuing my Sun and Ascendant combination series. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.